You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Every Sunday morning, it's the same freaking thing. Good morning. Keith Engle here for the TGI Sports Talk Sunday Stream of Consciousness. Good to see you guys. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. My dad over later. Special Happy Father's Day to him. We'll see him in a few hours. Well, yeah, whatever. 2:00. Enjoy the day. Hopefully it's nice where you are and you can cook out and have some fun. I want to welcome everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. The National Streaming Sports Roku channel will be joining us at 9 a.m. We'll try to remember to say hello to them when they join. The groups that allow us to share: John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities, Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, The Love of Baseball, Flo and the Gang at Bottom Line Sports. I mixed up Flo and JB the other day. I apologize. And check out JB on the Back It Up Binge podcast on YouTube. But Flo's out protecting this country. He's on active duty. If you joined us this morning, thank you. Celebrated the 250th birthday of the United States military yesterday. So happy birthday to them. Who else did I forget here? Ken Krause at Golf Bud, Sports of All Sorts. And Let's Talk Sports. How about them? Quick thumbs up to DDH and our boy Mac McGrath. I hope you guys are watching over us today. And Ralph Williams at RW Media. We want to give him a shout out. He does some great stuff over there, especially the Sports Corner that he does every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. With Smoking Jim Frazier. We've been a guest there and have always enjoyed ourselves. So welcome, everybody. Get to your comments and good mornings here in a second. A quick rundown. We got the NBA to talk about 2-2. Going back to Oklahoma City, the Pacers blow an absolutely perfect opportunity to go up 3-1 in this series with a bad fourth quarter, bad half of a quarter, actually. I thought it was a must-win for the Pacers as much as OKC, and we'll talk about that. We can talk about this. A lot of flopping in this. We talked about this on the National Streaming Sports Show here a few minutes ago. Maybe they need to start handing out like yellow cards to people or something. I don't know. What else? NBA Durant looking to get traded, will get traded. Phoenix doesn't want him any more than he wants them. I'm trying to see if we're live here. Are we or are we not? I don't think we are. We're not live again on my own Facebook page. And this annoys me more than you have any idea. So let me do this real quick. And you know what? Actually, it's not on there again. Why does this keep happening? It's not got anything to do with that. Okay, hopefully we're going to go live there in a second. I apologize. So we can talk some of that, some of the Knicks search. Durant looking to maybe go to the Heat or the Spurs or the Rockets. Knicks search is back to square one. No plan, nothing, ridiculous. The NHL, the Panthers are up 3-2. Edmonton on the edge of elimination. And Canada's on the edge of elimination. 32 years since they won a Stanley Cup in Canada. Amazing. 4 teams, I'll go through this again. I think it's 4 teams in Florida, 1 in Texas, 1 in Vegas, and 1 in Carolina have won Stanley Cups and somebody's winning Canada. It's amazing to me. We did have a record set. The Jets, Hallen Rick, how do you say his name? Anyway, the goalie for the fourth time, I should say, since 1967, wins the Hart and Venezia trophies in the same year. MLB, we've got the Red Sox owning the Yankees right now, 1-4-5 against them with the last game of this series tonight. Judges hit a homer, but striking out pretty much every time other than that. Rendon didn't pitch well again last night after not pitching well against the Red Sox last Sunday. Injuries, Tommy John's surgeries, right and left. Rockies' worst 70 games record and since 1899, on a pace to win 30 games now after a little bit of a hot streak. I use that term loosely. Judge, even though he's struggling this weekend, Triple Crown chase is for real, guys. What else? Rogers gets to Pittsburgh's mini camp. Do we even care? What about all the rookies holding out? Should they be holding out? Ridiculous. Antonio Brown being sought for attempted murder. Shocking there. I guess these hotels in Albany will never get their money that he stiffed them on. Irsay elected into the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, the Ring of Honor of the Colts. And the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open. Oakmont's a tough course, man. Scotty Scheffler, 8 shots behind. Spieth, 9 shots behind. Andrew McIlroy, 14 shots behind. Koepka, 9 shots behind. A lot of guys didn't even make the cut. But Adam Scott, one of the old timers, relatively speaking, has got a shot. 1 behind. Who's with us this morning? Guys, we can talk about any of that stuff and anything else you got in your mind because it's your show. AC, good morning. Well, it's my show, but it's your show. Good morning, AC. Good to have you with us. Your Red Sox are kicking our ass this weekend. Good morning, JB from Back It Up Binge Podcast. Check him out on YouTube. Good stuff. What's your next interview, my friend? Good morning to Rick Sherlock up in Amsterdam. They teed him up for the flop comment. We were talking about flopping a minute ago. The whole style of play came up in the NBA too. And I misspoke a little bit. I had said that guys today couldn't play in the 80s, let's say, 70s and 80s, when the game was much rougher, by the way. I didn't really mean that they couldn't play. If they tried to play this style of game in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, they wouldn't be able to do it. Good morning, Michael Gott over in the UK, across the pond, our good friend over there. Lots of good friends over in the UK. We got quite a few viewers. Michael is really the only one participating at the moment. We've had a few in and out through the years. Michael, good morning. Drew's with us. Not sure if you'll see this comment. Your page isn't showing you as live, so I'm trying to get on here. I think we're live now. Let me just double check. Yeah, we're live now. Facebook has been very these guys. It's a good thing we don't pay anything. If I paid anything, I'd be like screaming my head off. Although I do scream my head off about Facebook. We are live now on the TGI Sports Talk page as well as my personal page on Facebook. Is Brad Marchand going to be the playoffs MVP? I think he might. If the Panthers win, I would think so. I mean, he's got 5 goals. I think it's if I'm not mistaken, AC, you can correct me, first time that anyone has ever scored 5 goals in 2 separate Stanley Cup series. So congratulations to him. And I think he will be the MVP or whatever we call that. Hockey likes to name their awards. Paul Spada, good morning out in Wisconsin. I am live now, so you're commenting there. Thank you, Drew, for pointing that out. I did notice I've got a whole board in front of me, and I can see where I've gone live. And I often will kind of check back on Facebook. I'm having trouble even logging in on my computer. It wants me to change my password. I had to get on to the National Streaming Sports Show through my YouTube. account. I couldn't go on through Facebook because they're asking me to change my password and not sending me the information to do so. Anyway, I hate Facebook. 10 hats are required for Sealtown or Rogers. You know, good luck. What can I tell you? Happy Father's Day to you, William Pulver. Good to have you with us. And again, as the crowd grows, the audience grows, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, or soon-to-be fathers, whatever. For baby fathers, you're included. Everybody's included in Father's Day that takes care of someone and nurtured them into adulthood, I guess. Special Father's Day to my own dad, of course. Stanky suck. Easy to say when you win 4 out of 5. By the way, I would point out, just an FYI, before let me just check this here real quick, because that win last night got you back to 500. That's well done, by the way. 7.5 games out of first. Yep, you've owned us the last 2 weekends. That's okay. Actually, we could still win 2 out of 3 here. JB's recording a new episode tomorrow with a former Dolphins D-back. That's right. You never announce the final until it happens. What's going on with your Friday interviews? Miss them. We'll get back there. I think we'll get back there. I've talked a few times about it on the show, JB, and I have been running some encores. I didn't run one this week because there was a problem with StreamYard and getting it set up. But we'll get back there. When I get retired here in 73 days, just to update everybody, 73 days. And we got some more time, and I've been able to refresh. It's been a lot of work trying to do it. And work has been, again, I never thought my last 6 months working would be the most stressful. Even with me knowing I'm leaving, with everybody knowing I'm leaving, I'm leaving in the middle of some great, huge changes within our organization. And it's been stressful and too busy, or very busy, I should say, not too busy. I get well compensated for what I do. And in retrospect, maybe we should have left sooner, but that's fine. We can handle 73 more days, but we're going to go back. I think I've had some contact. Rick, I think I've been, I think somebody's hacked, who's I talking about having on? Oh, Ed Marinero. I think somebody's hacked his account. So, I don't think it's him because I'm getting a lot of messages about Bitcoin now from him. So I don't think it's him. Anyway. So we'll get back there. I wanted to go back and be able to play some of my old interviews, but they were corrupted on my computer. So when I went back to try to do some of the old stuff from 4 or 5 years ago, none of it's there. So I've only got a few things from the last few months. Some good interviews though, and so we'll continue to play the best of for a few more weeks. Few more months, whatever, and we'll get there. It's only a few weeks. I'm only going to work, by the way, of all the weeks I've got left, which isn't a lot, right? I've got, 10 weeks left. I think I'm only working a full week, like 3 of them. So we're in Myrtle Beach. No, we're in Mystic starting next Wednesday. And back on the following Tuesday, so we'll be off there. We'll probably do the Stream of Consciousness next Sunday morning, I hope. Again, I get given an itinerary. I don't necessarily get asked what I want to do. The whole family will be out there, but my plan was everybody else does what they want to do, and my plan will be to do this show. So the other shows may not happen. I will play something in the 9 o'clock hour on Friday. I'll play something in the MLB hour on Friday, but it may not be live content. While watching, I have motorsport in the background. Le Mans 24 started yesterday at 4 p.m., finishes today at 4 p.m. 24 hours of Le Mans. You know, I think I saw a movie about that one time. I don't know if it was James Garner, but it was pretty interesting. Ferrari's in front. You know, it's funny. Car racing, I've never been all that into. When I was a kid, I liked Indy racing. My dad watched it, so I did. I've enjoyed some of the 24-hour races at times. There's a new movie coming up with Brad Pitt called F1 that's coming out this summer, which I'm sure will be of interest to you, Michael, maybe. And there are a lot of race car fans. It's not something we cover a lot here, but we're happy to discuss anything anybody has some knowledge about. I can't possibly refute anything anybody says about car racing because I don't know enough. Good morning, Dave Guyette, out in Amsterdam, New York, along with Rick. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to Rick and Drew and anybody else who's got kids. Speak up. Don't want to leave anybody out, but I don't know who has kids and who doesn't. I don't want to offend anybody. Watch Friday's MLB update. Yes, miking players on the field is stupidity personified. Thank you, Drew. I say let's mic up the batters and destroy their concentration there too. Sure. And the pitchers. Let's mic up everybody just so they can have one ongoing conversation with the booth the whole time. How ridiculous. I didn't put that on my list to talk about today, but, you know, I do like to, you know, we have to revisit some topics because we have different people on different shows, following different shows. Miking up players while they talk is ridiculous. And by the way, and paying them, I'm not paying Jazz Chisholm enough money that he doesn't need $10,000 from ESPN to talk to them for, you know, 10, 15 minutes during a half inning. What a bunch of freaking nonsense. And by the way, why don't teams step up and say no? Why doesn't Aaron Boone, again, I had a problem with Aaron Boone last night, sit there just stone-faced while freaking Jason Dominguez runs you out of an inning last night as you're trying to rally in that game. Yankees fought valiantly back from down 4-0, but they run themselves right out of the game, and I think it was the 8th inning. This is the stuff where Aaron Boone has got to get and tell Jason Dominguez, and maybe he does. But I see these guys making the same mistakes. I watch Gleyber Torres do the same thing for years. So you can't tell me he's doing anything about it. So anyway, back to the microphones. Aaron Boone can't step up and say, no, you're not doing that. And if not him, Cashman, the organization can't say, guys, we're not, and I'm not talking about just the Yankees, by the way. This is anybody. They can't step up and say, don't do this. I know Rob Manfred's not going to do it because he probably thinks it's a brilliant idea. Can't bite the hands that feed you. We already lost ESPN. And it's not just them. All these Fox, Apple, where else are the games? Prime. If they're doing their own production, which Apple does, and it's horrible, they got to gimmick up everything. The screen is full of nonsense. I mean, I suppose if you're a guy in your 20s or 30s, you'd love to see all this nonsense all over your screen. I want to watch baseball. Thank you, Drew, for getting me going this morning. Facebook is crap. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what I have to set I'm probably getting freaking scammed because I haven't been asked to change it on my phone. But on this computer, I have not been able to get on. Anyway, whatever. Yankees don't suck that bad, just a little. Paul, I'd be disappointed if you didn't think they sucked. I think the Reds, listen, I hate the Red Sox. I respect the Red Sox. I have for years. We talked about this, I think, a little bit Friday. I have extreme hatred for the Red Sox. But I've respected them always. Some of them. I mean, but the rivalry's not what it was anyway, right? I mean, you watch these guys and they talk to each other, they pat each other on the ass, and take me back to the 70s when Nettles was breaking frickin' Bill Lee's shoulder. And Piniella and Fisk would get into it. And Munson hated Fisk and Fisk hated Munson. But they respected each other. Not sure if I'm crazy about my lighting today. I can't do that. I got to have it on bright. Anyway. Yeah, take me back to those days. This rivalry stinks right now. Fans still have a rivalry, at least fans of our age. The players, we should just take this whole show and talk about how bad Facebook is. I've had shows where I've done that. Hey, see. At first, they were Nazis. Well, they still are in a way. I know you run into some problems there, right? But it's better now. It's still a lot of nonsense. I see people wishing people dead, but they take my shows down sometimes because they don't like what we talked about. I don't know what we talked about. I don't know. I'll talk about Antonio Brown being charged with attempted murder, and I'll get taken down for some reason. What is wrong? Has anybody ever wasted a life and a career and a talent? I mean, I shouldn't say anybody. We've obviously seen guys like Gooden and Strawberry and dozens and dozens of other guys wasted on drugs and whatever. But Antonio Brown, man, this guy he's a nuts. He's a psychopath or something. So all these, when he owned the Albany Empire Arena Football League team, which was doing great business when he bought them. And then went in a tank because he stopped paying people and they stopped playing games and they folded. And he stayed in about 10 different hotels here around the area because he stiffed every one of them. Guess I'll never get paid. Thank you for ruining that team. And by the way, maybe he did us a favor because new ownership came in. They rebranded it to what it used to be, the Albany Firebirds, when it was big in the 90s. And they're undefeated and they're about to win hopefully about to win a championship. So, Antonio, thank you for being such a dick. I got a filthy mouth this morning, don't I? I saw a funny post on Facebook, which I can't share now because I shared it before. Well, I'm not going to go there because I can't get onto it to show it to you other than on my phone. I'm not going to do that. Or is 11 games under 500 getting healthier? 6.5 with the 7 wild cards. There are 12 wild cards in each league. All we're leaving out is the White Sox and the Rockies, I think. Nobody's technically out of it. I mean, except the White Sox and the A's and Rockies. They got a shot to get back in this. They've been playing much better. They're methodically getting their way back towards 500, 11 games under right now. Getting healthier, as you said, but it's going to be interesting when the trade deadline comes up and to see what they do. They could buy and sell probably at the same time. Something that the Rays have been good at doing over the years. Many teams have been good at doing over the years. Or more teams do over the years, I should say. Whether they're good or not is debatable. But the Orioles are trying. They're starting to hit the ball. I mean, we're worried about their pitching. Their pitching is not great, but they got buried here because they weren't hitting the ball. Pretty simple, right? Score runs. We should do a 6-panel roundtable Zoom podcast with like Danny, me, and a few more guys. We can do that sometime. I feel like it will devolve into madness, but I love those types of shows. So, we need some topics. Maybe we just debate maybe we just talk about the state of sports in general and how much it sucks. I'm a little negative for Father's Day, aren't I? What am I angry about today? I got 2 days. I got a 2-day work week ahead of me. I got 73 days left to work. When I come back, it'll be like 65. Why am I so angry today? We can figure out something. I'm always interested in doing stuff. Drew's got to work my brain here and I think cover up most of my face so that, oh no, he didn't get me at all. Tons of birthdays today. Oswaldo Peraza, we certainly know who he is, Yankee fans. Dominic Smith, former Met, former Oriole. I don't know where he is now. Yankees had him in camp, and he could be in their minor leagues. I think they might have let him go. I'm not sure. They had too many lefties. He lost out in a numbers game. Travis Jankowski. I want to say utility guy, played with the Astros and maybe the Rays. Eduardo Nunez, pitcher. I think for a few teams. I won't even attempt Trevor's last name. I believe a pitcher. Mike Fears, I know, was a pitcher back in maybe 20 years ago. Tim Lincecum, we all know from the San Francisco Giants, that guy burned hot and burned out fast. Cliff Pennington, shortstop with the A's. Zach Day, former pitcher with the Pirates. Romero Mendoza, former pitcher with the Yankees. And again, they could have pitched with others. Andy Pettit, we all know Andy Pettit from the Yankees. Tony Clark, very competent first baseman and a decent power hitter with the Tigers and the Red Sox. Currently, I believe, the head of the Players Association, if I'm not mistaken. Wade Boggs, obviously we all know. Brett Butler, very nice center fielder, back in the 80s with the Braves, or 90s, I guess, with the Braves and later the Dodgers. Lance Parrish, nice catcher with the Tigers, world champion Tigers in 84 and the Phillies later on. Dusty Baker, we all know, distinguished player, very distinguished manager, finally got his World Series victory, and he is now retired. Ken Henderson, outfielder with, Giants and White Sox. How am I doing so far? Champ Summers was a big prospect with the, I want to say the Indians, but I could be wrong about where Champ played. Because I might be mixing up with Joe Charbonneau a little bit. Bruce Canton, kind of a journeyman pitcher, pitched with the Royals, Pirates, and some others. Ty Klein, Reds and Cardinals, maybe. Billy Williams, certainly Hall of Famer, with the Cubs and the A's. And Babe Dahlgren, first baseman with the old A's, maybe. Let's see how he did. Danny Fuller, happy Father's Day to you, my friend. Hopefully you had fun at the ball game the other night. Look, were those your seats you sent me pictures of? You didn't answer me, so I know you're busy watching a game. I don't expect you to answer me. Were those your seats that you sent me the picture of? If not, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. Who won that game, by the way? Let's see what happened at the game Danny was at. He was at the Giants and the Dodgers Friday night with a great matchup with Yamamoto and who? Why is this? Logan Webb. And you saw the Giants win 6-2. That's too bad. I'm sorry about that. But got to go to a ball game. It's not all bad. It goes quick. Enjoy the end of your career and don't stress. I'm stressing less and less every day because I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to get into it too much because I don't know who's watching. But when I retire, we'll talk more about some of the end of my career here. Nothing bad for me necessarily, but it's just, I don't know. It's not what I expected the end of my career to be, I guess. Yankees inmates run the asylum. Yeah. That's been my biggest gripe with Aaron Boone through the years, right? Is I don't think he holds guys accountable the way that he should. Especially on the bases and defensive lapses. And maybe it's just because he doesn't do it in the press, and maybe that's okay. But he's done a good job this year with a team that's got obviously flaws, some big flaws. But the team's played well, and he's done a good job of plugging in bodies when guys get hurt. And I think he's done a good job. I still don't I hate the way this team runs the bases almost every night. And last night watching Dominguez, what are you doing, man? He's standing there. He just fell asleep. I don't know if he didn't know how many outs there were, what the count was, but he was 2/3 of the way to third base, and he just stood there like he was daring the catcher to throw to second base. And Navarro, by the way, is eating the Yankees up, by the way. Good move, letting him get to the Red Sox. I know we got too many catchers, but when the batter bats, does he sense the catcher's position behind him and to give him a pitch location? Good ones can take a peek backwards. It's not easy to do, right? Because you're breaking your concentration on what's coming at you, and soon enough, as Drew pointed out, it'll probably hurt your conversation with the booth while you're mic'd up. But good hitters have been known to take a peek backwards to see where the catcher's set up. Some catchers will deke them a little bit too, I guess, and line up a little bit somewhere where they're not giving away where the pitch location is. Yeah, again, it's part of gamesmanship is being able to kind of do that type of thing. Why stealing signs, by the way, is not a huge deal because we've been doing it for 100 years. Judge all the way down to 284. He has been struggling recently. 400 is probably going to be out. I do think that he will win the Triple Crown. And I know some guys probably think the Triple Crown is nothing now because home runs and RBIs are, not important stats. I mean, maybe he'll win the exit velocity and launch angle awards along with whatever you want to put with it to win that Triple Crown. But Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball. The Ohtani backers don't seem to be coming to his defense lately. When he pitches, if he pitches and starts and pitches well, then I might change my tune a little bit. I don't know. I'll move him back up. But Ohtani and Soto, at least Ohtani's got an excuse for not getting. And Ohtani does run the bases pretty well, so I got to give him some credit there. And I don't mean any disrespect necessarily. They're great players, him and Soto. I think they're by far the three best players in the game. But again, two of them give you really nothing but at bats, great at bats, home runs, RBIs. Ohtani is stealing. I don't know if he's stealing bases this year. I haven't really looked at his stolen base total, quite frankly. Somebody can share it if they like. But Judge is the best player in baseball because of what he does. He's the one guy in the Yankees that does know what he's doing on the base pass more often than not. Maybe I was too hard on Gleyber Torres. Maybe the team strategy is to run until you get tagged on the bases. I don't know. Gleyber Torres having a decent year in Detroit, by the way. Deep breaths, my friend. The Reds don't look good on you. It's all over your face. You never know. My face looks white to me. I look like Casper. You never know. It depends on where you're watching, what colors you're going to get, I guess. And I play with the studio lights a lot, trying to get it right. And I'll have it perfect for a while, and then it just goes away. The red comes and goes. When I get worked up about stuff. I'm a passionate guy when it comes to my sports. That's why I do this show. It's an outlet. My wife doesn't want to listen to me bitch about this stuff. She won't know what the hell I'm talking about most of the time anyway. Football, she does. Baseball, not so much. Golf, not so much. I was watching the U.S. Open yesterday, and the ball landed in a divot, and she was like, "Oh, they can't move." One thing she gets is when things are stupid, she has a very innate power, if you will, to be able to say, why can't they do that? And she doesn't even know the rules. So I don't know who it was yesterday, had a tremendous drive and just gets stuck in a divot about this freaking deep. USGA, PGA, whichever governing body is governing whichever tournament we're talking about. How about changing the rules so you can move your ball out of a divot? It is stupid to penalize a tremendous golf shot over something you have no control over. If you hit it into a bunker, that's your fault. If you hit it into the water, that's your fault. If you hit it into the trees or deep grass, that's your fault. When you hit the ball 300 yards down the middle of the fairway and it just rolls into somebody else's divot, that's not your fault. It is one of the stupidest rules in sports, quite frankly. And it's cost many players dearly. Nick Lowry the other day melted down. I think it was Friday, maybe it was Thursday. He didn't make the cut. And his boy McIlroy barely made the cut, and he's 14 behind. He's another story. I don't know what's going on with Rory. But Nick Lowry just had a meltdown. Took his own divot after he muffed one out of a divot and wasn't playing well anyway. And he was just, F this place. Remind me a little bit of Roy Halladay years ago. I think he was pitching a no-hitter. I'm not sure. He was pitching a great game against the Yankees. And Johnny Damon, I don't know who the hitter was, just hit a fly ball down the it was the old Yankee Stadium. It just barely cleared the wall right by the foul pole. And again, I think he's pitching no-hitter. I could be wrong about some of the facts, but they just cut to his face and he just, this MF place. It was hilarious. Anyway, and Rory, but what's going on with Rory? I like Rory. And for some reason, he wants me not to like him. He's surly lately. They asked about the press and why he was kind of hiding from them, whether, they asked him, if the pressures, since the Masters, he's gone off the frickin', he's on the loony train. Ducks out after he doesn't play well. Doesn't show up to Jack, who's one of his biggest backers and a mentor in a lot of ways. Doesn't go to Jack's tournament at the Memorial and doesn't even call Jack to tell him why. And he blames the press. He goes, that's not really anything about any of the pressures around the game. It's you guys. That's not literally. That's basically what he said. Sorry, literally is one of the most, is literally the most misused word in the English language. I respect the hell out of the Yanks to TB. I'm not really good with those. What is that? To be honest. I'm guessing to be honest. Okay. That's fair. You can hate and respect at the same time, right? Hello, CA. Blessed Sunday to you. Happy Father's Day to you if it applies. He suggests everyone get a TV on FanDuel TV. Extra channel for now. I do have it on. I have it somewhere because I have watched some of the stuff that's going. I've watched some of the darts. And you got the U.S. Open. How about them Cats? By the way, I wanted to give you guys an update on the. By the way, CA, before I forget, and hopefully you're still here. How far am I behind? 8:51. Oh, geez, I'm falling 20 minutes behind already. I got to stop talking. But isn't that part of the show? Yeah. CA. It's June. Going to be July before we know it. Fantasy football. I know we're going to start a new league so that we don't have the Deadwood in there. Make sure that Danny Fuller and Paul Spada get invited. So if you guys, CA is Excalibur Force here, right? I mentioned it to you, Paul. CA's not in the chat. Maybe I should add CA to the. Maybe I'll add it. If you want to be in it, maybe I can add you to this TGI Sports Talk chat so you guys can get together and we can make sure we get them in the fantasy football league. They definitely want to be in. I actually, Paul spoke for you, Danny, so I want to make sure you want that. So anyway, good morning, CA. Riley Green leads with 91 Ks and 268 at bats. That's about right. His ball in play must be huge. Let's put that stat up. 14 homers and 48 RBIs. This is why nobody cares about Ks, even though they should. Absolutely, they should. Also, hits 224 against lefties, so a platoon player who strikes out a ton is considered a potential all-star. I like Riley Green. I like the corners. I like this Tigers team a lot. There's a lot to like about this Tigers team, and they'll probably get better. But this is just the way the game's played, and what infuriates me. Even the good players have all these ridiculous flaws, man. That can be corrected. Yankees versus Red Sox rivalry has lost its luster, no doubt. Back in the days, I'd never miss it. Yeah, right? I think it's sports in general. That's why I still like college, and that'll go away eventually. I like when there's hate involved in rivalries, man. Hate and respect. Guarantee the Yankees respected those Red Sox teams back in the 70s. And that was back when, the Yankee rivalry was, really only a rivalry. It's one of the best lines ever. It's only a rivalry in the sense, if you consider the rival, it's a rivalry. There's a rivalry between a hammer and a nail. Can't say that quite so much today, 40 years later. But it was fun. It was fun. These guys literally hated each other on the field. And you never knew what was going to happen. You don't like a brawl in baseball? Sorry. Because today they just stand around. And most baseball fights through history, I think they had the Red Sox and Yankees had some real fights. Again, I will never forget watching Bill Lee come off the field holding his shoulder. That bozo deserved what he got. Aaron Hernandez wasted his life. He wasted a bunch of lives, quite frankly, his own and the people. He might be the only serial killer ever in the NFL that I'm aware of. He's the only one we know about. But he's a great example. We talked about this. I think we talked about it maybe on the Wednesday professional sports show on National Streaming Sports. These guys can't get out of the hood. They can't leave their past behind them. The hangers on, it's funny if they're street people when they're, again, I'll get called a racist and I don't care because it's a very real thing. I'm not just, making stuff up. The hood follows these kids wherever they go. Allen Iverson, you go back and Antonio Brown. There's a lot of hangers on. They just can't cut the cord, and I get it. They're their friends, but you are who your friends are is a very true statement. One of the truest things I've ever heard, and it's sad. That was a sad story. Top two stolen base leaders are Caballero and Cruz. Well, that's nice. You get on base a little bit, you might double those, especially with the rules as easy as are, making it as easy it is for stolen bases today. What's the percentage? Overall percentage. And maybe I'm wrong about my whole take on stolen bases. Nobody's tried to refute me when I make it. But one thing I haven't paid attention to, so if the percentage of stolen bases hasn't really gone up, which I'd be shocked if it hasn't, then my argument starts to lose a little juice, but nobody's used it against me. AC wasted his life. well, I don't know if you're here, hopefully you didn't. Doing good. Would have rather water my life. Would rather water. I'm not sure where that goes. My life being like Antonio Brown. Would rather. I'm not sure where we are there. At least he got to. Oh, I see. You would rather have Antonio Brown's life, really? At least he got to have fun on his terms and got what he wanted out of life. And he hurt a bunch of people along the ways. I don't think you're being serious. I think you're being facetious, AC. You helped people and saved lives when I was young, and all I got for it was a broken down body with anxiety. Listen, whatever you did to save those people and save lives, and God bless you and thank you for it. I don't know what, where we're if we're talking about military service or some other public service, we thank you for that, AC. Don't think you wasted your life doing that. And with the anxiety that you have today and physical issues, I wish you well in that battle, my friend, but don't wish you were Antonio Brown, please. Here's one thing you have, I would hope. You have respect the way I respect and just laid it out for you. There's not a person in the world who respects Antonio Brown. If they do, they better reevaluate their own value system. So thank you for whatever you've done to help people when you were young and save lives. You would rather wasted your life. I wasted your life, I see is probably what you're trying to say. I don't think so. You might feel like that for whatever reason today, and I'm not dismissing your feelings, by the way, AC. Everybody feels the way they do for whatever reason. But I can tell you that I respect a person like you and don't have an ounce of respect for people like Antonio Brown, Aaron Hernandez, and guys like that. They all lived on their own terms. Where does it lead them? You have more today, even with the struggles you're referring to, than Antonio Brown has, I guarantee you. Pete Alonso leads in RBIs over Judge, despite they play in different leagues, so it's still a triple crown for Judge. Alonso's had a good season, by the way. He'll set himself up to go. He'll probably be a free agent again next year. Well, good for him. Actually, to play yesterday, we had the shockers, the favorites. England, with the 1 and 2 players in the world, got stomped by Germany. I didn't see it. Is this like the World Cup of darts? By the way, I have found some good stuff on FanDuel TV, and not the darts isn't. There's some really cool stuff there at times. The hotels in Albany are giving free rooms to people invading America. I'm glad AB won't pay them. Oh, stop. Listen, I'm paying for the free rooms that the people are staying at. I didn't pay for AB's room. So I do have a bigger problem, yes, with the free rooms. And there's been I don't even know where we are today. I think we've removed most of those people. Hopefully relocated to where they actually belong. Illegal aliens, by the way, not displaced migrants or whatever euphemism that we hear on the news. Unbelievable how we can't call people what they actually are. I'm a racist for that, I'm sure, too. But so one thing doesn't make the other okay. I don't know, you're sticking up for AB today, AC, or AB. Oh, AB. I watched this guy wreck a really successful freaking franchise here. Now he's tried to kill somebody. He ruined a bunch of women's lives. And he's got himself broke after making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. Ruined a really good franchise here in Albany. Fortunately, he was able to recover from his mismanagement and BS. He's not okay for stiffing And by the way, the hotels in Albany were almost told they had to do this, for crying out loud. They weren't given a lot of choice because the rooms were paid for by me. Dom Smith's been adopted by the Giants, has he? Is he on the he's on the Major League roster? I didn't even know that. Dom Smith, he was a good prospect with the Mets, right? Pete Alonso gets in his way. He's run into numbers games a lot of places that he's been and not gotten a chance. I think he played he was with the Orioles, right? Or was it the Reds? No, it was the Orioles, I believe. Played some left field as well as first base. He would have made the Yankees this spring if they didn't have such a dearth of right-handed hitters at the time. They had no choice. Why am I bouncing all over the place here? Anyway. Yes, those were seats. Good. They were good seats. I'll bet your son was happy. Good-looking seats. Good job. Danny scores some good-looking seats at Dodger Stadium. Had to get out to L.A. and go to a game at Danny. Pitchers under 2.0. Senga. Well, when the league batting average is less than 250. Injured stuff. Senga injured. The Tommy. When's the major leagues going to smarten up and not just say go out there and throw as hard as you can and let guys blow out their arms and their elbows, and Tommy John surgeries are at an all-time high. If you're going to do something, teach your kid to replace ligaments and elbows. You can have a practice just for that. Get smart. Let pitchers pitch. They don't build up their arm strength, and they tell them to go out there and just throw as hard as they can as long as they can. Paul Skeens, very interesting conversations going on in Pittsburgh about whether Paul Skeens, and I think he's under team control for like 5 more years. So why the Pirates would think about trading him now, and there is some chatter they will, because the sooner you trade him, the bigger haul you can get. And there's some discussion about, and we'll talk more about in the MLB update in the coming weeks. There's a lot of debate whether you want to build your franchise around a pitcher who will likely break down given the state of the game today, or trade him for a huge haul now while he's got 5 years of control left, team control left, to some team that will pay him probably out of the gate, lock him up long-term with about 7 outs, of course, and get a haul bigger than what they got for Soto in Washington. So, I don't know. Brown 1.88. Bubik's a big surprise. 1.92. Scooble 1.99. Walking in LA by Missing Persons. Good, very good song. Dale Bozzo is 70 years young. Drew, you didn't give me a score on my birthdays today. How'd I do? How'd I do on the birthday people? Seemed easier except for a couple of names. I wasn't too far off. Zach Littell is considered to be a Rays trade candidate due to an expiring contract. He's given up 21 homers and 87 innings pitched. Still has a 3.8. What's he get? All solo. This has got to be the Catfish Hunter syndrome. Catfish Hunter would lead the league in home runs most years for starting pitchers, but be one of the most successful because you know why? He didn't walk guys. He gave up a ton of solo home runs. This guy sounds like a good pitcher for the Rockies, though. Rockies. The Rockies, worst 70-game record since 1899. You can't make it up, man. They're back on a pace for 30 wins and 132 losses. I'm not sure that there's anything that can stop this train. Maybe they won't lose 132 games. But does anybody think they won't break the record that was just broken last year after 60 years? Over 60 years? Judge, hands down the best this year, the best. He was the best last year, too, by the way. By the criteria I just laid out, he was better. I think he was better than, because again, Ohtani, as great a year as Ohtani had last year, he didn't wear a glove. I'm just saying. That's, again, this is subjective, I should say. And guys, when you comment, don't make sure you stick around. I know a lot of you here stay here for the duration, so it's fine. If you guys who were passing through just comment, please stick around, because I fall behind in the comments because I want to give a little feedback on what everybody posts and not just short thrift people. If I comment quickly, it's just not necessarily that I'm not interested, but I'm just trying to get on to other stuff and get everybody in here. So Judge is the best in baseball at the present moment, and until he isn't, I guess. He's better than Soto. Soto had a great year last year. Who was hitting behind him? Favorite Wales is up against Hong Kong. Wales. Go get them. I like Wales in this. Framber Valdez is the only pitcher with 2 complete games. That's shocking. Most guys aren't going to have 2 complete games in their entire career. 7 pitchers have pitched a shutout. Well, they haven't pitched a shutout. Well, that's true. With complete games, I assume you mean there. Actually, there's been more. I shouldn't say there's more. It feels like there's a handful more complete games than we've had in the past. Mets are playing great baseball. Just came off a winning streak. Ended, I think, the other night. They've lost 2 in a row now, yeah. But they're still 3.5 games ahead of the Phillies, who are starting to get back in their groove with three wins in a row. I think we're going to see a really cool. And again, it loses because of the wild cards. You know, when you have all these wild cards, the division races don't have the same impact. Yes, you don't want to play 3 games on the road to start the playoffs, but it isn't like, listen, we talked about going back in time on the show before. I didn't know time travel wasn't a thing, by the way. I guess I should know, because if I could, I'd go back to 1970 when I got 2 divisions in each league, and you either won your division or you went home. Anyway, you're going to have a great race for that division crown, and who's really going to care? Because, you know, the loser's going to get in anyway. I mean, that may very well be the American League East probably will be a good fight. I would think the American League West will be a good fight. The East is probably going to be the best one in my mind as this year goes on, because I do think the Dodgers, while they're in a dogfight right now with the Giants and the Padres, I do think that they'll pull away at some point. We'll see. Because none of the counting numbers are important anymore, JB. You don't understand why RBIs isn't important anymore. By the way, that isn't me talking. That's, you know, the world of baseball. RBI is so important. It's the closest thing to having a stat that shows how clutch you are and if you can do your job when it matters. I agree 100%. RBIs, runs scored. But for the people who like to, you know, computerize this freaking game, and all we have are all these metrics of nonsense, right? They have wanted to diminish all of these counting stats that have been important only for, 150 years. But they, in their grand judgment, because they went to school and they can look at things in a different way. Sabermetrics. Who freaking cares about sabermetrics that's over freaking 45 years old? Well, probably a couple people. The eye test matters. These numbers matter. Yeah, there's some years where guys' RBIs might be inflated because of all the guys on base in front of them, but it's still a metric. It's still certainly a good test of how you perform in the clutch, as AC says. Because whether you got guys on base in front of you all the time or not, you still got to come through when they're there. But this is the way we want to do it. Thank you for bringing up the College World Series, CA, because I want to give everybody a quick update on where we are. So here's where we are so far. In Friday's games, Coastal Carolina, who I picked to win this whole thing back when the Super Regionals started. Coastal Carolina beat Arizona 7-4, and Oregon State beat Louisville 4-3. So Arizona and Louisville will go to the losers bracket, as will Murray State, who lost to UCLA. Congratulations, Danny Fuller. 6-4 yesterday, and LSU beat Arkansas, who I like to get to the final against Coastal Carolina. Arkansas, they'll have to do it now from the losers bracket. They lost game 4 yesterday. In today's games, you got Louisville and Arizona in an elimination game, as I mentioned earlier. And Oregon State and Coastal Carolina will play at the first game's at 2. The second game is at 7 p.m. tonight. And then Monday, you've got another elimination game, Arkansas and Murray State. And UCLA will also play LSU in the winner's bracket at 7 o'clock. First game Monday is at 2. The finals will be next Saturday, Sunday, Monday if needed. We still got a long ways to go to get to there. So 2 teams on the verge of elimination in the NCAA. And by the way, if you're a baseball fan and you don't watch the College World Series, you're missing out. You really are missing out. It still feels like baseball there more than Major League Baseball in a lot of ways, except for the bat. Oh, I hate hearing that freaking metal bat. You see, but there's been some really, really good baseball being played. So thank you for getting me there. I don't know what that is. Is that coffee? Because I need more. I could message my wife, but she's a little busy. Getting a couple things. My dad loves hamburgers. That's all he eats these days. He's had a tough couple years, and we love him. He loves burgers, so we're cooking a bunch of burgers for him. And he thinks he likes anyway. I hope he does. My wife's Asian pasta salad, and so we'll see. She's up working on that Asian pasta salad now, and some other things. So she works hard. I go up, clean up the deck, put ice on the beer, and I'm good. I got it easy. Kikuchi's walked 41 in 77 innings with a 2.92 ERA. Well, by the way, the Angels have been a bit of a surprise here. They've come back. They had their hot start like they've had the last couple of years, fell backwards and looked like they were going to settle where they normally would, but they've really played good baseball the last few years. Galleon has 40 walks in 87 innings with a 5.71. Yes, that's the name you couldn't recall on the update. Thank you for that, because I think he and I did remember later, of course. There's so many freaking names. You get so many names in your head, you just lose track of who you're trying to pull up. It's all there in my head. It's just I can't pull the index card out the way that I used to. That's why I only get half the Jeopardy questions right now, not all of them. I'm just kidding. I get them all right. I'm kidding again. By the way, although the Diamondbacks now have won 5 in a row, it's going to be very interesting that what they do at the trade deadline as well. With Burns down, Gallen and I think Merrill Kelly are both on contract years, so they may very well move on from these guys, even if they're in a pennant race. thin air and a big ballpark seem to help the Rockies lead in triples. I feel like they probably always lead in triples because with that big ballpark, and if you've never been in it, looking at that outfield is amazing at how big it is. I was there. It's been more than 25 years ago. I was there when I worked for a Coors distributor and was out in Golden. We stayed in Denver. We went to a Rockies game. We played golf at Castle Rock up in the mountains. What a most beautiful golf course I ever played on. They used to play a professional tournament out there. They probably still do. It was and it's the only tournament they played by the Stableford system, which I really enjoy the Stableford system, which is a different scoring in golf. And if you don't know golf, you're probably bored as hell with what I'm talking about right now anyway, but you get points, you get plus. The idea is to be plus points, not minus. And you get like 5 points for I feel like you get 5 points for a double bogey. I'm sorry, double bogey, albatross, 4 for a eagle. Jeez, good grief. 2 for a par. Something I may be off. It might be 4, 3, 2, and 1. You get 1 point for a par. It's whatever. I'm really explaining it badly, and I apologize. I'm going to move on now, but it's a beautiful place. This is all to get to the Rocky Stadium, whatever they call it today. But I got to tell you, they have a purple ring around the top of the stadium. It's about 3 rows from the top, maybe a little more, maybe a little more than that. But it is a hall up there, and that is where you're exactly 1 mile above sea level. And it's really cool. And it really is, by the way, if you don't think the thin air matters, I can tell you this much. Huffing and puffing, and I was, again, 25 years younger, so I was 40 and in decent shape. And it was a huffing and puffing up there. And as far as the thin air and balls traveling, I can tell you that I had to probably club down 2 clubs, at least 2 clubs, everywhere. It took me 9 holes to figure out what clubs to hit. I mean, at the time, I was probably hitting a pitching wedge about 125 yards. I could hit a pitching wedge about 150. That's a big difference in golf, by the way. Dodgers lead with 164. Well, White Sox lead with 22. I think that's trail, but I get your point, Drew. Danny wants in. So you take care of that, please. And I see this next commenter coming up here, and I hope you're still here, Judy. Let's get back to those. I gave you guys credit already. If you're talking about today's games, yes, you've won 4 of the last 5. Congratulations. We're still 7.5 games ahead in the standings. And if you're talking about let's get back to the old school Yankee Red Sox games, I'm all for it. All for it. I'm a big fan of the hammer and nail rivalry. I'm a big fan of watching Bill Spaceman Lee walk off with his shoulder hanging down around his hip. I'm a big fan of watching Lou Piniella and Carlton Fisk duke it out a home plate after a hard slide because we slid too hard into Carlton. Great respect for the Red Sox. I will say again, hate them. Hate them, hate them. The rivalry is still alive in the fans' purview, I believe, not on the field. I hated those Red Sox teams. I hate every Red Sox team, but I have respect for the guys that deserve respect. Yaz deserved great respect. Jim Rice, Fred Lynn, those guys back in that time, Pudge, all deserve great respect. We keep talking Tigers and Stankies in the AL, the damn Asterisks, the team to watch. A great point, and I think, probably bring this up. I did pick the Mariners to win that division and the Astros to, I think, win a wild card. I've lost my sheet as always, Drew. When I retire, maybe I can hang on to some of the papers around my desk. But the Astros are playing great baseball. They've moved in 4.5 games ahead of the Mariners and Rangers, who have just 5.5 ahead of the Rangers, who have stunk it up. The Mariners are hitting and not pitching. Who thought that would be the problem? They're still third, fourth now in the American League in runs scored, but they also have given up 310 runs. Their pitching gets healthy. I think the Mariners still will win this division, or at least make the playoffs. But no, you can't forget the Astros. And Drew, you can point out why this asterisk is wrong. I'm not going to do that. I'm okay with that. Perthites don't care. I don't even agree with the nickname, by the way, because as you know, I think it's the most overblown. I think it's the most overblown thing in the history of sports, by the way. Stealing signs scandal, which we've been doing for 100 years. We've had guys with binoculars. And again, did they take it to another level? Yes. Whatever. Yankee fans, you didn't lose. Dodger fans, you might have a better gripe. And what's his name? He doesn't pitch for the Dodgers anymore. Who's the guy? Kelly, right? Joe Kelly. After that series, I don't think he pitched even a third of an inning against the Astros, because every time he came in, he just hit a guy. The Astros, the Dodgers might have a bigger gripe. I don't know. Yankee fans and Brian Cashman, you need to shut up about 2018, because we didn't score any runs, which has nothing to do with stealing signs. At least not the way the Astros are stealing them. Yes, Rick, I mentioned Antonio Brown a couple of times, and he's a piece of trash. He just is. He's abused women. Now he's attempted to murder one. Destroyed our beloved arena football team here. At the time, they were the Empire, but now they regained their original name of Firebirds. And they're not just undefeated, by the way. They're running roughshod over this the Arena Football League. They won a game. I think the last game they played. What did they do last night, Rick? Did they win? I'm assuming they won. You said undefeated. Oh, I was going to reach out to Bo Crouch, who covers the home games for the Washington team. I think they played Washington last night at home. But they won a game. I think the last game they played before this 2 weeks ago, they won like 100-16. Antonio Brown's just a piece. You know what? And again, he owns every hotel here in Albany because he stiffed every one of them. Read an article in Baseball Digest from 1988. Title: What's with all the home runs? And the end, the writer attributed the stadiums being built smaller. I think there's a lot of stuff. So again, home runs, smaller stadiums, right? Absolutely. Expansion, worse pitchers. The balls are made differently than they used to be, wound tighter. Bats, technology on bats is different. They still have to meet some standards, right? But you go back to 1968 when they lowered the mound. There's a lot of reasons, but yes, I think the ballparks probably are the biggest thing. Thank you for bringing up Baseball Digest, by the way, because I told that story, I think last week, about how I scored, I swear, 1,000 of them for about $10 in a garage sale one time. Most of them from the 60s and 70s, which I loved. The 70s, I got every one. I could remember some of the articles, actually, I read when I was in my teens. So much fun. Maybe we talked about it. Maybe it was here Yeah, maybe it was this show last week because I remember Drew talking about it still being okay today. I'm not paying for magazines. I just got Sports Illustrated again, which comes now every once a month. It's a monthly, not even a weekly or bi-weekly. But I got it because I got it for like $2. Just giving it away. There's Matt. Good morning. How are you out there in another Southern Californiite? Good to have you with us. CA says, I'll change up the computer this week and make sure it's ready for the new players. Yahoo and fantasy leagues are best with 16 teams with a limit of carrying 2 quarterbacks per team. Listen, if we get 16 teams, I'm all for having it. CA, and what we can do is once you have it, until we fill it up, we can post it on every show. I'll post it on every show until the link until we fill it up. All the shows that I do. So, and we know CA, we know a lot of, we have probably 10. I don't think Danny and Paul got in last year. I don't think. But we thought we filled it up. And that's why I wanted to start a new league because, again, we had people that just never even drafted. That's why I'm not necessarily mad at them. They probably didn't even know they had the invite or whatever because they don't check their email, but whatever. Danny, you and your wife get out here to Southern California and I will have tickets. For us, retirement is coming up. So make a 2026 visit. We might just do that, Danny. Yankees play the Dodgers in 26. That would be cool. Probably don't. Thank you, though, for that offer, Danny. Good man. I made so many, and again, most of it, through technology, right? Friends. We're not sitting down having a beer together. But I've made so many friends doing this that's been one of the great joys of doing this show and all the shows I do. I've made so many friends. Friends in the UK. Dan Harris, the late Dan Harris. Great guy. Guys like Michael Gott over in the UK. Danny and some others out and Matt. These people that I meet through here. Had a lot of fun. Your fantasy team's been calling for a new manager. You got a revolt in the clubhouse. How about Aaron Boone? Rick, I would do this. You switch places with Aaron Boone for a month. Let's see what happens. I think I'd be for that. My team's been calling for a new manager for about 3 seasons, by the way. What happens when I start these, by the way? Why? I can't do it. Interesting. Anyway. CA says, how about them temporary refugees that overwhelmingly aren't temporary? Yeah. We call them anything except what they are, illegal aliens. Come up with that, whatever euphemism you want. I get so sick and tired. If I see one more person burning an American flag and waving a Mexican flag, I'm going to help them move too. How do we get so backwards in this country that trying to protect this country has become a bad thing? I don't get it. And as Matt says, happy Father's Day to all the dads. Same to you, Matt. Good to have our Bolts fan here. We'll get closer, by the way. It's already June. I was thinking about it. I get back from vacation. It's going to be June 24th or 5th. I guess I go back to work. We're going to have training camps opening before you know it. It's exciting. Baseball, football. Did fairly well on the birthdays, Keister. Always an outlier or 3. No, some of them throw me for a loop. I get, and again, this will sound terrible. I don't mean it to sound terrible. I don't mean it to be terrible. It'll probably sound terrible. I get some of the, it's funny. You get to some of the Latino names, and many of them sound the same, right? So I probably mix up some of those. I'm not a racist, I promise. I hate everybody the same way. Kidding. Don't cancel me. Or cancel me. Actually, it doesn't matter to me. I love the way totally blew it on. I'm interested in Babe Dahlgren, if I'm saying it right. Was I close on that one or not? I know the name. I know this is not a college football pod. This show's about anything, Paul. This show, you can bring up anything you want. Curious about your thoughts on Salter with the Buffaloes. I haven't had a lot of chance to dive into specific teams and what they'll be looking at this year. Who is Salter? Hang on. Let me see if I can find something quickly to refresh my memory. Salter, is he their new quarterback? Maybe. I think he is. Oh, that can't be it. Oh, Caden Salter, there he is. Their new quarterback. Where's that's a YouTube thing. In general, Paul, I think that team's going to have a very tough time reaching 9 wins. If Salter is, anywhere near as good, and you can say what you want about Shedeur Sanders, he was a really, really, really outstanding college quarterback. He just was. Whether he makes it on the next level has been up to debate. And that's a fair topic to debate. You can't debate that he was not a very, 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 very good college quarterback. Maybe great. But you're losing him. You're losing a Heisman Trophy winner who, by the way, you lose 2 important positions. Horn, you lose your second best white receiver. I think they lost their top 3 receivers. The line had played better, and they lost a couple of guys from there. So I'm going to come down to protecting a quarterback and getting a pass rush. And they improved those areas last year. That's why they got better. And whether they can continue this. And with his kids gone, I'm very curious to see how Deion reacts. This is really going to be not the first time. I mean, he started at Jackson State without his kids, and then his kids came in, but he knew his kids were coming in. So I'm interested to see if he is invested as in focus as he's been. He's been a pretty good coach. Just because, I get myself tied to knots because of the hype. Doesn't mean I don't think Deion's a good coach. I think he's a really good coach. I think he's a really good motivator of young men. That's why I think he's better off in college than the pros. We'll see. A new fantasy major, call Ricardo Montalban to the island. I could use a Khan, actually. I'd rather have Sunyan Khan be my fantasy manager. I need some ruthlessness. That's from the Wrath of Khan, by the way. Best Star Trek movie ever made. One of the best movies ever made. It's in my vows. Judge didn't wear a glove in the World Series. Danny, actually, this brings up I'm glad you gave me it. This gives me a segue to a great Dodger joke, by the way, because it's a true story. Back in I think it was the 80s, right after, that great Dodger infield broke up and Steve Sachs was struggling defensively. They had Mariano Duncan playing shortstop, and maybe Brock at first base. But they were making errors right and left, and there was a joke. You may remember this joke. What do the Los Angeles Dodgers and Michael Jackson have in common? That was, again, it's a 40-year-old joke, so bear with me. Michael Jackson and the Dodgers have something in common. What is it? They both wear a glove on one hand for no apparent reason. That was Judge in the World Series last year. And by the way, Judge was playing out, to be fair, and Danny, when you get on me for ragging on my team last year, I kept saying we have to get Judge out of left center field. He's a great right fielder, and he's an average at best center fielder. Plus, it's harder on the body, a big body like his, wearing him down. And you saw in the World Series, he was not a great center fielder. So you're absolutely right, 100%. But it also backs up an argument that I had all last year. You weaken two places in the lineup by playing Soto in right field and Judge in right. Two defensive positions you weakened. These are the things that upset me about Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman, quite frankly, because a lot of times I feel like Aaron's just carrying the water for Brian Cashman. Go Bruins. Dummy me missed the game. Try to watch tomorrow. It's early tomorrow, isn't it? Didn't I say? When is tomorrow's game? Oh, they got to 7 p.m., so 4 o'clock your time. Well, congrats, UCLA in the winner's bracket. World Cup, the only team tournament in the PDC. Nice. I love team international competition. I love the WBC. I don't know. I feel like half this country would root against the Americans team competition today. I actually had somebody ask me a year ago this time, well, maybe a little later, a year ago, why Israel was allowed to be in the Olympics last year, because they're committing genocide and the Russians can't come. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Sorry. Went to the LA Open a couple of times. Fun to watch live. Golf, I'm assuming you're talking about. Golf is awesome in person. It's hard to get around sometimes. When I was younger, we went to every U.S. Open you could go to in the East Coast. We went to Shinnecock, which, Drew, I know you're familiar with, out in the island. It was the weirdest, by the way. That was and U.S. Open's always played and ends on Father's Day since I can remember, maybe forever. But I experienced everything you can experience that weekend, because on Thursday and Friday, it was like 45 degrees. Guys are wearing ski caps. You're freezing your ass off. The wind is blowing. It was awful. Friday, it rained. And Sunday, it was about 95 degrees on Father's Day. But Shinnecock, Oak Hill out in Rochester, 2 times the Brookline in Massachusetts. We went to like 6 U.S. Opens in like a 12-year span in my 20s and 30s. We went to a Ryder Cup. We went to a bunch of senior tournaments, because he used to play a lot here in the Northeast. But there's the U.S. Opens were just, you cannot get a feel for how really good these guys are watching them on TV. You got to see them up close. I watched the late Seve Ballesteros. So good. I watch him in the trees. This is at Oak Hill in Rochester. He's in the trees. He's got to shoot. I swear to God, it's like this. It's like, I don't know, 16 inches, maybe 24. I don't know. It looked like 16 inches. It was probably a little wider to get through these trees. And he's got about, I don't know, 220 to the green. Yeah, most guys, I'm pitching out of there, right? I'm hoping I don't hit a tree pitching it out. And by the way, there's also people lined up everywhere. He hits a tree, he's going to kill somebody. He hits like a 2-iron. I swear to God, it didn't get 5 feet off the ground. less, maybe left 4 feet off the ground. It was like a missile. Right through that opening in the trees, he knocks it, like 10 feet. They hit shots I can't even dream about. When you're standing there watching these guys do it, you don't even get a feel for what it's like on TV. Fantasy update. We always look forward to this. I'm actually ahead. I'll blow this. Keith said, I'm dogfight leading 9-8. I'm getting your head handed to me at 5-14. I'm looking at the standings, and by this time last year, I was just like probably dead. But well within that 4th playoff spot. So, and poor Rick doesn't have anything going right, losing 1-19. Oh my God. Oh, hence his comment about players asking for a new manager. Maybe the manager needs new players. No, I believe it's probably the manager. You can't fire 25 guys. We already know this. You can't fire, just ask the Knicks. You can't fire, you always fire the coach. How's that going, by the way? Great plan, right? We decide a month ago, apparently, that Tibbs was going. So I don't know how he could have saved his job. Maybe if he won a championship, he would have saved his job. But there's no evidence to show that Tibbs isn't the guy to get them over the top, because this team has improved and gone further in the playoffs pretty much every year since he's got there. Took them to a conference championship for the first time in 25 years. And every single guy that they've tried to interview, Quinn Snyder, Jason Kidd, the guy in Houston, Finch in Minnesota. Who else? I'm missing a current coach. There's like 5 or 6. None of them have done any more than Tibbs. Oh, Jason Kidd got his team to the finals. What's the plan? We're going to end up with a freaking unproven assistant. The only assistant coach I'm signing off on, and by the way, nobody's asked me to sign off on it, would be Sam Cassell, who's got 20 years, and it's a shame Sam Cassell's never got a head coaching job. 20 years. He's been an assistant. Great player with the Rockets, 2 times back-to-back world champions in the 90s. This Knick team is so stupid and out of frickin' touch. It's unbelievable. So they made a decision. They were going to fire him a month ago, basically, is what they're saying now. With no plan. Let's go ask a bunch of teams for guys who are already coaches who have done no more than Tibbs or less than Tibbs. SI went broke when we went woke. Messed with this. I didn't care about the swimsuit issue. Quite frankly, I think they gave you a choice whether you even wanted it, and I didn't want it. How do I want that? Didn't do anything for me. I will tell you this, that the magazine has rebounded in the writing and the articles. There's still a little bit, so I ignore the wokeness. If I can pick out for 2, I paid about $9 for a year. But if I get 2 articles that I like in a month, and I'm happy. The rest I just ignore. Just like everything else, right? I don't get my opinions when we talk about wokeness or whatever. I don't get my opinions from that. That's what makes me angry sometimes. People go, stop watching Fox News. You know what? I watch less Fox News than probably the rest of you watch mainstream news, or the people who get on me. You should stop watching CNN, you and the 10 other people that watch it with you. I don't watch. I watch mostly left-wing news broadcasts. Now I read conservative publications and whatnot. I watch everything. Do I think everything that's going on right now is great? No, but I think there's Trump Trump derangement syndrome is a very freaking real thing. There are a lot of things going on right now that would not be even, there wouldn't even be a freaking one voice raised except for the guy who's in charge. I'm not a Trump fan. I don't like the guy as a person. I think he's a horrible human being. Got nothing to do. Got nothing. And so are probably half of the other people that served in that office. It has nothing to do with that. I care about policy. That's all I care about. Are they all perfect? No. But all you guys, by the way, I would vote for a Democrat in a heartbeat if the right one was nominated. I'd love No King's Day. That's awesome, by the way. That's brilliant. Because you only nominated a woman who didn't get one single vote to run for the office. Not one. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. In politics, we'll get off of that. Beyond the obvious reasons, indigenous movements through revisionist history offer excuses for bad behaviors, past or present, to maintain control over many by the few. That's a little deep for me right now. Beyond the obvious reasons, indigenous movements through revisionist history are often offer excuses for bad behavior, past or present. I don't know. I'm not really sure where we're going with that one, CA, and maybe we can talk about it. I'm happy to comment on it. I just right now I'm not grasping what we're really talking about. Babe Dahlgren, first base. I was right about that. Where did I say he played with the A's? That makes sense. The years, 35, 36. That's right. Best remembered for replacing Lou Gehrig. There's where I knew the name. Thank you. Everybody knows Wally Pipp. Nobody remembers Babe Dahlgren. They should. Yes, I do remember the joke. So true sex was like amazingly bad. When he was here in New York, fans used to wear a helmet behind the first base. He was bad, right? He was a good hitter. And he was a good ball player. He just sometimes had trouble throwing a ball at first base. Oh, that was a funny joke, right? 8 clap for UCLA. LSU is loaded and playing great baseball. They are. I would say everybody here is playing great baseball now, though, aren't they? Danny, isn't that fair? I mean, Arkansas was playing. Well, there's a good point, because I think I would have said Arkansas was playing better baseball than LSU up until yesterday. LSU handled them easily. Michael Gott doesn't understand the infield rule. Is it still applicable? You mean the infield fly rule? It is still applicable. Men on first and second with less than 2 outs on a pop fly that is in the infield or in short outfield and can easily be handled by an infielder is called an infield fly, so that the defense can't have an advantage of letting the ball drop and try to get a double or triple play. So hence the rule, the batter's automatically out. The runners can advance at their own risk, if that's what you're talking about. I don't know when it was put into play, but it definitely still is in play. It's interesting. Sometimes you don't see them, though. No mention of Bruce the Bat Dog with the Nationals. I got to be missing something here. You just mentioned them, so now you can't say no mention. Is that for me? I got to find out what's going on with that. There's got to be something. What am I? Oh, he's a bat dog. I did not know about this. He's been called up by the Nationals. He was. This is awesome. This is pretty cool. Bruce the Bat Dog was called up from AAA Rochester to make his major league debut in a damn it. This thing is, why did this story just jump like 4 paragraphs down? Called up by the Nationals to make his debut in a pregame bat retrieval ceremony at Nationals Park. Very good boy. Bruce worked during Red Wing games on Friday and traveled the Red Wings game on Friday and traveled to the nation's capital that night for the Nats 105 matinee the next day. He's bad luck. Look at this dog. I try not to smile. He's a good-looking golden retriever from the looks of it. Bruce has become a fan favorite in Rochester and on the internet. He has over 5,000 followers. That's more than me. Really? Get your own podcast. Oh, this is awesome. That's a great story. That's pretty cool. All right. I'm a fan of Bruce the Bat Dog now. Thank you, Drew. Anything that makes me smile these days is good. I'm definitely going to watch the Brad Pitt F1 movie when it's out on the 25th. Watched Moneyball again for the 1000th time last night. It's a good movie. They don't necessarily stay terribly accurate to the truth, as many movies don't, but it's interesting to watch. It's interesting to watch the and again, I like Moneyball, the movie. I like the movie. I like the actors. I like the way it's played. I think it was interesting. I don't like the way Art Howe was kind of made to look like a dunce. And I have my own problems with Moneyball because it kind of led the way to some of the sabermetric nonsense that I can't stand today. But again, they found a way to win with no money. That was the point. So I get it, right? And I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because a lot of the things I do like on base percentage, that's one of the things that Moneyball really keyed on, along with some other sabermetric stuff. But again, they had no money. They were trying to win. They did a great job with it. Do I think it helped hurt baseball? Probably. Matt, Danny, looking to see what part of Southern California you're in. I know you were. I think you're right around the LA area, if I remember right. I did see this story and just did not get into it. On Thursday, Milwaukee's William Contreras threw out his older brother. Oh, maybe I didn't see this, but they both homered on the same day, right? There you go. I see it later in the comment. William Contreras is second base in the 7th inning. In a Saturday affair, the two had an even more impressive feat when they each homered in the 9th inning. It was the second time brothers have I did not know the Farrell brothers did this. I didn't know that they both homered in the same game. I would have thought it happened a few times. I mean, with a lot of brother combinations in the leagues, but it's still a pretty cool feat. They're both pretty good players. Yankees have Stanton finally coming back. Yeah, for how long? We talked about this a lot, as you noticed, on the MLB update. Bob Noto, friend from Amsterdam, had chimed in, and we talked quite a bit about Stanton. They need a right-handed bat, but again, this is a guy who gets hot for 2 weeks and disappears for a month and leaves more runners on base than I do. Or would, I'm sorry. But again, we're paying them, so we might as well try to get something out of them. And they need a bat. They need a right-handed bat. None of the right-handed bats are contributing, other than Judge, of course. And no, I shouldn't say that. Goldschmidt's doing okay, too. Doing very well, actually. Dominguez cannot hit right-handed. He's struggling greatly from the right side. LeMahieu's done. Cabrera, when he was playing, couldn't hit from the right side. They need a bat, and hopefully he can get it and stay healthy. Danny, this is my one great fear. Because who better to get the Knicks over the top than Mike Brown? Because he's been way over the top many times, right? Look at Mike Brown's a decent coach. I have nothing bad to say about him. There's no reason. I'm not firing Tom Thibodeau, who just took a team that hadn't been to the conference championships in 25 years. I'm not replacing him with Mike Brown, who's been to one final with LeBron in his prime and didn't win, by the way. Coach your Lake. He's coached everywhere. There's a reason the guy's coached 5 teams, 4 teams, whatever it is. Quinn Snyder, I like Quinn Snyder. Well, it's not going to be Quinn Snyder because the Hawks said you can't talk to him. I got a bad feeling it could be Mike Brown, myself. Again, I'm going to continue going to Jay Wright and make him keep saying no. I'm going to keep offering him more money and more money. I'll give him power. Well, Leon Rose isn't giving him any power because Leon Rose wants it all. And he wants all the credit, but none of the blame. Another reason Tibbs is gone. Quinn Snyder had Mitchell and Gobert and couldn't win in the playoffs. Great point. I like Quinn Snyder. I really do. I think he's a good coach. Again, am I replacing Tom Thibodeau with Quinn Snyder? No. If Tibbs had retired and would I consider Quinn Snyder to be the coach? Yeah. But I'm not. You can't fire Thibodeau. What time is it? I'm not firing Thibodeau for the stated reason, which is bullshit, by the way. Sorry, Roku people. It's BS, by the way, that he's taken us as far as we can go. When he's gotten better every year, the team's gone further the last 3 years. So that's going to be the reason you fire him, but then you hire guys who have had less success than him or no more success than him, mostly less. If you decide to walk away, well, sure, Quinn Snyder. I like Quinn Snyder as a coach. He hasn't. You're right. He had Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, who's got his faults, by the way, but was a really great defensive presence and couldn't win in the playoffs. I agree, Matt. Great point. I watch everything, some with passion, some with popcorn, and prepare for a comedy. I agree, Danny. It's laughable. You know, I love it when the market goes down, by the way. I can't get off this topic today. I'm sorry. A little more than I'd like to get into, but I get so ticked off. The market, anytime there's a bad day in the market, and there was a bad day in the market Friday, it went down nearly 800 points. The Dow and NASDAQ was off. The S&P was down. Everything's down. But when we have a bad day like that, they can't wait to talk about it. But have you heard one report in mainstream media that, before Friday anyway, all the losses that were incurred since January were made up? And plus, on the plus side. Have you heard one story about that in the mainstream media? Because I haven't. Maybe I'm watching the wrong news. I don't know. That's why I read the Post. Not the Times Union. Or the New York Times, excuse me. I play their connections. That's all I do. D-backs I do read some of their articles, by the way, and try to stomach my way through it. But look what they've done to the Athletic. They've gutted it. D-backs have a 5-game winning streak. Astros and Red Sox 4, Royals 5. Game losing streak only surpassed by the Nationals 7 games losing. Nationals have really gone in the crapper. And I've read some articles too that they're ready to start investing to try to win. Well, maybe they'll win a few games now. Run differentials. Rockies minus 212. That's why you're on a pace for 132 losses. Casey Rose have a Bigfoot mascot. That's awesome. By the way, Utah should have named their team the Sasquatch or whatever they're going to name. I think wasn't that one of the finals for the Utah hockey team? the Sasquatch. I think it would have been awesome. National League introduced the infield fly rule in 1895, a few years before I was born. Yes, just a few. Not that many. I'm surprised it's that old, but that's a smart rule, by the way. So I'm sure it'll be eliminated by Rob Manfred at some point. By the way, 4 times last night during the Yankee game on Yes, I heard the announcer say, oh, next year they'll challenge that strike. I'm really excited. Challenge strikes. What else can we do? Human error. La Habra. What the hell is that? Is that the golf course? Orange County? Oh, that's where you're at. I'm sorry. I forgot Danny asked. So there's your answer, Danny. La Habra in Orange County. I knew you were in Orange County. I do not know La Habra. You mentioned Mexican flags. All cultures who've never had a rule of law that have to be convinced through revisionist history are convinced that they deserve justice regardless of criminal. I get it. Now I get it. I get it. You can display any flag you want. We got a bunch of Nazis running the frickin' development I live in. They tell you can only put an American flag up. Now, I'm a patriot. If I was flying a flag, it would be the American flag. But, I mean, if you're from the Dominican and you want to fly the Dominican flag in your neighborhood, I think you should be able to do that. I don't have a problem with that. Right? That's just freaking ridiculous to put in some. By the way, I had to message the board back and say, when we get sued because somebody can't put a pride flag up, I don't care what people do. I don't care if people put pride flags up. Who cares about that stuff? As long as you're not denigrating somebody else, do what you want. So I said, we're not all liable for the lawsuits that are going to come, right? So you should be able to do that. But again, and if you're, again, you look at the protests and look at all the guilty white people that are there. They're not Mexican, right? If you're going to just do that and denigrate your own flag, well, I have no sympathy for you. That's all. That's my last comment there. Happy Father's Day, Drew. You got to leave a bit early for festivities. You have a great weekend, my friend. Enjoy your holidays. And I don't know whether your son's coming up. I hope he is. But enjoy the Father's Day with your children and your mother-in-law. I know your mother-in-law will be with you. My stepmom was disappointed she wouldn't see her today, but I'm happy she'll be with you and your family having some fun. So enjoy. Hawks were 40-42 with Snyder. Not a great team though, Matt. He did some good things. I like Quinn. I'm not saying I want him to coach my team necessarily. I'm just saying in different circumstances, if he were a candidate, I don't think I'd have a problem. I have a big problem with all the names mentioned, given why the Knicks say they fired Thibodeau, which was baloney. And that Atlanta team, I don't think Snyder's going to be there much longer either, because that's a dysfunctional team. Can the Oilers pull it back, Keith? The Canadian Stanley Cup, as I mentioned at the top, Michael, and you may not have been here. It's now 3-2 Panthers. They're going back to Edmonton for an elimination game for them. 32 years. Listen, I like my Canadian friends. I don't have any problems with any of that. Love my Canadian friends. Made a lot of them through the show. Let me some water. Hold on. 32 years with no Stanley Cup out of Canada. And in that time frame, if I have the numbers right, I had them written down for Friday's show. I got into it with Jack on the Mac and Jack show. In those 32 years, 4 teams from Florida have won a Stanley Cup. 1 from Texas. Congratulations, CA. one from Vegas and one from Carolina, and nobody works the national sport, or maybe curling is a national sport. I'm not quite sure. But yes, I'm going to be rooting for my good friends from Edmonton to come back and win this. Nothing against the Panthers. I just kind of like rooting for underdogs when I don't have a huge rooting interest. I'm rooting for the Pacers to come back and win. Pacers blew a great chance the other night. They fell apart in the fourth quarter. The bench, which was 49 points, they scored in game 3 off the bench. They had like 25 or 28 at halftime, and they only had like 10 in the second half. And Halliburton didn't play that well either. Or Halliburton, didn't play all that well again either. Specifically to the many Mesoamerican cultures, and sorry, I'm not laughing at you, see, I'm laughing at the fact that I've got to try to pronounce all this stuff. It's hard. Mesoamerican cultures and mythological cult of Aztecians still resonates today. I suggest everyone do a bit of research. Listen, I'm a Native American. That's all I know. That's all I can tell you. I didn't steal any land from anybody. So I don't. Oh, new hockey would have been cool. That would have been cool. La Habra, nice, since that's the other country. We only had like a few. Christoph Gray popped in, so we had Canada, we had the U.S., we had U.K. In Michael, we had California and New York. 5 countries heard from today. I include New York now. Your father flew his Confederate flag for years only because of the Civil War, never thinking it was racist. Boy, how times has changed. Yes, unfortunately, it became a symbol of the Civil War. Look at Ole Miss flew it over the college till 10 years ago. Well, maybe 20. I lose track of time. We tear down statues. We change names of military bases because, you know, I am not saying that we should celebrate all the things that have happened in this country, but when you put things up to commemorate things, it isn't necessarily to celebrate it. And if you forget your history, you're bound to repeat it, and that's really bad. It's an intentional mess. Well, that's possible. I know a lot of people believe that they want us to be, you know, I don't know. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. I believe most of the reasons we're where we are in this world is incompetence, racism, ancient hatreds, you know, and stupidity. When kids on campuses are saying free Palestine, they don't even realize who's holding Palestine. It's scary. Anyway, guys, I'm done for today. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers and everybody. Enjoy the day. I'll be back Wednesday, I think, with a college sports huddle. Friday will be iffy. Not sure we'll do any shows at all, but we'll have some content on the air, even if it's repeat content. And Sunday, we're going to do everything in our power to have our Sunday stream of consciousness, even though we're going to be doing it remote from Mystic, Connecticut. Historic Mystic, Connecticut. And a great, great, great show. Thanks for participating, everybody. We're all over the place. We covered the world of politics. We covered ancient Aztecs. We covered Mesoamerica. We covered everything. You guys are the best audience out there. I love the fact that we can have a true stream of consciousness and even have a dialogue and not get into arguments and throw rocks at each other and have to have the Marines called in. So I'm very happy about that. So enjoy. Guys, have a great day. Danny, you too. Bye-bye.